Tattoos. Ink and skin. Artist and client. But the question is, are these needles equivalent to a paintbrush? Is tattooing an art form?
So some people would say some tattoos are art, you know, when they're beautiful or extensive or technically proficient, or even if they're in galleries. And therefore some tattoos are art and some are not. Some people have answered the question that way. Other people have answered it on this kind of metaphorical ground, saying yes, of course it's art, it's basically marking on a surface. I want to say, again, as an art historian, what is and isn't art is not really an interesting ontological question for us. It's a historical question, so what cultural moments in time have viewed as art and in what ways is important and interesting. We take the artness of a thing we're studying as a given. It's not something we interrogate in ontological terms. Who's the author of a tattoo, right? Now, traditionally, in both kind of negative versions, like criminological literature, for example, or in the more positive examples that you read more recently in philosophy and sociology, the author of a tattoo is the individual, right? Like something about my body is like produced on my skin. As I said, that has some problematic roots. The roots of historical criminology begin with the idea that you can tell how bad someone is by the images they have on their body. Just to start with, there's something a bit problematic there. But the basic idea is that the author of the body canvas is the person who has the tattoos. And you'll find whole books about tattooing from sociologists and philosophers which don't mention the tattoo artist at all. Like tattooers, in the old days it would be photos in a portfolio, now it's Instagram pages. You don't see the person, the customer, they're presented as the artwork of the tattooer. I sort of argue in the thesis that, with the obvious exception of people tattooing themselves, tattooing is always going to be a collaborative practice.
You know, years ago I'd have probably made money up in a basement doing paintings on canvases or whatever else, but for me they just walk around.
But the lady I was speaking to, I gave her my design and she actually changed it quite a bit and made it so much nicer and so much more exciting and better. And I was like, do you do this often? Is that like a very common thing for you to do? She's like, yeah, pretty much all the time. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Like, can you tell me more? And then I think at some point she was like, well, quite a lot of the time I actually just do my own artwork and then like I sell those as tattoo designs. And I was like, hang on a minute, you telling me that people just get your artwork tattooed on them? Just like that? And she was like, well, yeah. I was like, what do you mean? Honestly, like mind blown. I was like, what? The idea of that was actually incredible.
I always really enjoyed art. I had done it since I was little. Really looked up to my cousin. Used to draw on myself like all the time.
There's so much about committing to having a tattoo on your body. Obviously it is permanent, and I think one of the most beautiful things about it is being able to look at that and knowing that it's with you for life, and not many things in life that you can say have that permanency.
Me, this tattoo means a lot to me in terms of my identity. So the pink triangle actually represents someone who's queer, and I want to be able to wear my identity on my sleeve so that kids who were like me when I was young can actually see someone who represents them as they're older, and hopefully I'll be able to carry that on through my work with kids, through my charity work, and this is just something that I can use to represent that.
You know, that stuff's on there for life, but it started, you know, cooking the idea, and yeah, here I am, I guess.
I liked that you can create something and people will take it with them for the rest of their life, rather than just like with a print or a painting or something you just put in the bin, you know? You can't really do that with tattoo.
Knowing that someone comes to me for that specific style to be on them permanently, I'll be honest, like, it makes me want to cry a little bit. Because the fact that someone cares about something that you've created that much to also want it to be on you, like, or on them permanently, it's a big fucking deal to me. I'll be completely honest.
When you come up with something completely out of your own head, completely original, can't be found on Google, on Pinterest. It's completely, I've sat there and like, oh, I have an idea. Here we go. And then you put that out through whatever avenues, through social media, and then people see that and like, I want to wear that on my skin for the rest of my life.
I mean, we can have the concepts and the ideas, but I'm never going to be able to make something that will look like this. And whilst I appreciate that these guys will take criticisms and take ideas, I trust them implicitly, because this is what they do. As Jack said, he's been doing it for about 13 years, so I trust him, not with my life, but with my arm.
I mean, it's a great honour, isn't it? Like, anyone wanting anything that I have created on their skin, on their person, forever, it's just mind-blowing. I try not to think about it too much, otherwise, you know, imposter syndrome and stuff starts kicking in.
It's cool when something that is, to be honest, just, you know, my everyday can help and affect somebody on a deeper level. It's very cool when that happens. I don't think it's necessary, and I think sometimes people almost look for sentimental meaning to justify getting a tattoo, as opposed to this is just a bit of art and it looks good.
I once got asked years ago, it was on Tumblr, that's how long ago it was, I got asked on Tumblr if like Harry Styles tattoos meant that he was in a relationship with Louis, you know, if I could decode the tattoos. And tattoos don't really work like that, you know, art doesn't really work like that. So I sort of hesitate to give a kind of like these mean this kind of story. For me, like I have been, you know, tattoos have taken me to really interesting places around the world. They've become a way through which, as I said, I understand the world. And they're really a collection, right? I think the best metaphor, there's lots of metaphors for tattooing that don't really work in my opinion. You know, the canvas metaphor I think is imperfect. The diary metaphor is kind of imperfect. But I think the collection metaphor is pretty you know, probably the best one we'll get to. So for me, that's really what they are. They're a collection of images from people and places that I've, you know, had the pleasure of spending time with. I think the canvas metaphor is interesting, but for me, it's interesting insofar as like what it tells, as I said, almost kind of meta-textually, like what it tells us about how people relate to their tattoos through time, rather than anything actually fundamental about people's own relationship with tattooing. I don't think it doesn't, in my opinion, survive much scrutiny, right? As I said, as soon as you have this "my body's a canvas" question or statement, it's like, okay, whose canvas?
I think my tattoos are special to me because it gives me my own chance to be kind of like artistic and express myself, because I'm not very creative in any other kind of sense. Like, I play an instrument or two, but I don't paint, I don't draw, I don't really get a chance to show other people like the kind of art and things that I enjoy myself. So I guess I get to take my body as my own canvas, and like I get to create a piece of art with somebody else. And I don't know, it's a process, and I like the process of actually getting tattooed and like seeing the final product and drawing everything up. Like the whole series of things that you have to do is kind of, I don't know, my own artistic expression, I guess. And although I'm not the one drawing or tattooing, I still get to be the person that kind of shows that art off. And even if it's on me forever, I take pride in all the tattoos that I have, and like there's nothing that I regret or anything. I think they're all unique in their own sense, and I think they're all unique to me too, so.
I guess my tattoos make me feel strong. They remind me that I'm strong. Kind of like, I mean, they serve a practical use in the sense of like a puffer fish. If someone goes up to a puffer fish, it just goes and all the spikes come out, but my spikes are always out. But then I get in the situation where some people are scared of me and I'm not that scary. So, but it's all right. It's the people that aren't scared of me come up, and usually are the ones that I want to talk to, so.
My tattoos are kind of like, I don't know, I think they're the thing that kind of makes me, I don't know, feel more confident in myself. They make me feel cooler. I haven't always been the most confident person in the world, but I think as soon as I started getting tattoos and like people really started to appreciate the kind of art that I'm putting on my body was when I kind of like, I don't know, it gave me, I don't know, like I said, boosted my confidence. I don't know, like I said, they just make me feel cool. I don't have very emotionally, like I don't have emotions connected to my tattoos necessarily. Like I haven't sat down and got a piece of artwork on me and been like, this represents this, or this represents this person, or this memory, or whatever else it is. And I think it's fine when people do that. I just have I've never seen tattoos as that kind of connection for me, as like a way to remember something or like show off something in that sense. Like I said, I like them because I like having my own body as like an art piece, you know? And I can gladly sit here and be like, nobody else has this leg sleeve, or nobody else has this back tattoo. And I don't know, I like being able to stand out in that kind of sense, even if like I may not stand out in any other kind of way.
When I look, you know, I've got, all my tattoos are some sort of reminder that, you know, I'm tough, I can make it through. Make it through whatever's happening. Right? Every time I get a tattoo, you know, it's like dropping a pin on a map. You know, I've been there, I've actually lived a life, you know, 28 years so far. You know, I got this one when I was 14, and this on my collarbones when I was 16. Moved here, got my belly tattooed when I was 20, and they're kind of like markers that remind me that I'm me. I like to think that most of my body is negative space until it's filled up. And as I live my life, I'll fill it up more, but it's not necessarily an art piece, more of a, you know, a cementing of myself in space and time. You know, I've been here, I've done that, I've committed myself to trying to make my life and the people around me's lives a little bit better. And every day when I wake up and there's negative space, it reminds me that there's more work to be done, which is a stressful way to live. Got gray hairs, I'm not even 30 yet. But that's what this world does to people, right? It's not an easy life. But I can look super cool doing it, so.
Donnie looks like the Homer Simpson meme.
Number one, I'm not trying to argue that tattooing is or isn't art, because it's not my job to do that, and I don't need to do it. And B, like, I think the more interesting question is like, if we take tattooing as art, we take tattooing as amenable to artistic inquiry in the same way as we look at more conventional forms of artistic practice. It allows you to think about the relationship between the artist and the client. It allows you to think about these metaphorical accounts of the canvas. It allows you to think about style. It allows you to think about transmission of images. It allows you to think about the role of technology. It allows you to think about the ethical contexts of production. It allows you to think about questions of autonomy without reducing those to condemnation of any individual person. So for me, like, the problem that I started out with, or the question I started out with, which I thought was simple, was like, how is tattooing art, or is tattooing art?